COVID-19 has swept around the world and it has affected every American in one way or another. Congress is attempting to offer relief to the American people via the CARES Act. Through the CARES Act, a vast majority of Americans will be receiving a stimulus check. So we're here to talk about how you can get your stimulus check as soon as possible, and what steps you can take to ensure your clients get theirs too. First off, if you want your stimulus check ASAP, you'll need to ensure that your 2019 tax return information is on file and up to date with the IRS. This means if you haven't filed your 2019 tax return, you'll need to file it as soon as possible. President Trump in his White House briefing stated, Americans who have filed their 2019 tax returns will be first in line to receive their stimulus checks. Now, if you don't file your 2019 tax return in time, the IRS will use your 2018 tax return to determine your eligibility. Now, let's say you qualified for the stimulus check based on your 2018 tax return, but not your current unfiled 2019 return. You will receive a check regardless, but you will be required to pay this money back. Depending on how many children you have, this could be thousands of dollars you'd be required to pay back. So why is this important to EROs? Well, imagine you have a new customer in 2020 and they don't file their 2019 return on time and were ineligible to receive a check, but were sent one anyways. Well, they would be required to pay that cash back. Now, if you did a refund transfer for this client and the IRS keeps their return, you could be out your tax prep fees. So it's going to be important to do your due diligence, ask those probing questions, and get proof of filing dates and copies of their 2019 tax return. Next, and very importantly, make sure you include your banking information on your 2019 tax return. Direct deposit is always the fastest way to receive your funds from the IRS. If you owed taxes, then the IRS will use the account that you used for direct debit. If you sent in a payment by mail, then expect to receive a paper check. If you don't use direct deposit, then the IRS is going to process your check through the United States Postal Service, and we all know how long that can take. So this could delay your check by weeks or even months. A big issue that could happen is if you had direct deposit information on your return, but you no longer have access to that account, the IRS will first try to send it to your old account, then after weeks, it will be returned to the IRS. After that, the IRS will eventually mail a paper check. This will 100% take months, and at that time, there'll be nothing that you can do to speed up that process. If your client did a bank product and had their money direct deposited on a Walmart money card or something similar, the IRS will try and fund that card. So you should proactively reach out to your clients to ensure they understand all of this. You could really save the day by helping them get their checks without delay. Furthermore, make sure the IRS has your current address on file. Anything can happen with the IRS. They can make a mistake, even if your direct deposit information was correct. If your address is not correct or you've moved and your check gets returned to the IRS, you will not get your check until you file the 2020 tax return. Remember, if you didn't file your 2019 tax return, they will be using the banking information and address from your 2018 return. So if you're not sure if the IRS has your most up-to-date banking and address information, you must call the IRS helpline. That number is 1-800-829-1040. Once again, 1-800-829-1040. No matter what, if you qualify for a stimulus check and for any reason you don't receive it, you will not lose that money. Instead, it will be added to your 2020 tax return. So if you didn't file for 2019 and would have qualified, but instead you were disqualified based on your 2018 return, you will be eligible for your money on your 2020 tax return. Now, let's talk about who's eligible for a stimulus check and how much those checks are going to be. Each taxpayer that falls under the phase-out limit will receive $1,200. Also, for each qualifying child, you will receive an additional $500 for each child. So, what are the phase-out limits? Well, anyone with a single filing status must make under $75,000. Head of household filing status, the limit's $112,500. Married filing jointly, the limit's $150,000. Now that doesn't mean if your income is above that, you will not receive a check. It might just be a reduced amount. If you made over the phase-out limits, your check will be reduced by $5 for every $100 you make above the phase-out limits. So here are some examples of stimulus checks for taxpayers with a single filing status. As you can see, if your income is $75,000 or less, you'd expect $1,200. If your income was $80,000, your check's going to be $950. And now $85,000, if that was your income at single filing status, you're looking at $700, and so on and so forth. Now, just to answer some general questions, the stimulus check will not be counted as taxable income. It's a 2020 tax rebate, much like the earned income credit. Also, let's say you owe tax for prior years, are behind on payments, or owe for student loans, you will still get a stimulus check and be free to cash it. Now let's say you didn't have taxable income or were drawing Social Security. Well, you'll still be eligible for a stimulus check. Also, and you might get this question a lot, children who were born in 2020 will not get the $500 credit now, but it will appear as a credit for the 2020 tax season, so keep that in mind. Remember, EROs, if you were third-party designee on your client's tax return, you can call the IRS Practitioner Support Line and help sort out any address issues or direct deposit issues for your clients. So be proactive with and for your clients. Hopefully this information will shed some light and give you some much needed information. If you need anything else at all from us, please feel free to give us a call.